deeply wanted something, but you feel resistance every time you move toward it, you're not crazy and you're not bad. That resistance isn't confusion or just self sabotage. It actually means that your system doesn't feel safe yet with the thing that you want. My name is Elyssa Smith. I'm a trauma informed executive coach. And today on the Unlock Your Blocks podcast, we are dissecting exactly why the very thing that you want can be a threat. So, if you have a desire versus safety mismatch, you likely found safety in childhood with the familiar. You probably found that growing up, the things that were familiar, expected, the role that you were expected to play, the familiar response to stress, working harder, being better, doing more, was what got more of your needs met for you. So choosing that familiar and that default over happiness, freedom, getting away from burnout, choosing the familiar default work harder option and making sure that you stay with what's small and what keeps you from standing out too much was a survival technique. So you get maybe judged at one point for not working as hard and you get a little bit smaller. You maybe find out that when you do your best, it's not good enough. So you become a little bit more hesitant. There are all kinds of things that you would have learned in childhood that would keep you staying with what's predictable and familiar rather than growth. Because growth threatens abandonment. It threatens that you might be abandoned if you stop doing the things that are expected of you by your caregivers or by your authority figures. We are all born into the family mobile. It's like that little toy that plays music and has little animals on it and goes in a circle around over a baby's crib, with the elephant and the donkey and the, zebra and different things. So whatever, if you take one of those little animals off or one of them stops playing the role it's meant to, it doesn't balance the others and the others really get wonky. And that is how it is. If you choose something that is unfamiliar in favor of maybe getting some more of your needs met or choosing happiness or choosing freedom, it's not going to go well for you as a little kid if you're going against your caregivers, against the people who you were born into proximity with, because perceived abandonment then becomes possible. If they reject you, then you'll be abandoned, then you'll be siphoned off from the herd, then you'll be eaten by a predator, is what your survival system thinks is going to happen. So not an option, right? So of course, you're going to grow up as someone who in childhood really tries to stick with what's expected, be smaller, be quieter, be seen and not heard if that's what's necessary in order not to be abandoned. Not even to really get needs met, but in order not to be forced out of the tribe. Because that's the only extreme that your nervous system can really understand would be possible if you go against what's familiar. So big stakes here, right? So you might have developed a fear of visibility. If you stand out, you're going to get a consequence. A fear of too much responsibility, because then if you mess it up, you're going to get abandoned. A fear of loss, like you're not going to be able, if you do something that's unfamiliar, you're going to lose things that are important to you. So if you stepped out of line, the caregivers may have even actually threatened that you were going to get things taken away from you if you didn't do the normal amount of work that was expected, or if you didn't play the role that was expected, or if you didn't stay in line. So we get these complexes then as adults where the body is going to pump the brakes on any goal that looks different, any kind of change, any kind of behavior that doesn't feel good in order to protect your larger survival needs. So it all served a purpose until now, right? So that's good. It means if you are having the response to your dreams that it's like, oh, as soon as it goes on the goal list, I start to resist it. Or as soon as I start to work on something new, I just feel like I have to put it off, or, gosh, that pile of laundry needs to be folded. And now I'm going to go do that instead of go call 5 new clients. So that makes total sense, right? When your body thinks that everything is on the line, of course it's going to go with your defaults. Now it's your job. You have the opportunity as an adult human now. You're the one that makes sure that your needs get met. And hopefully you're in a free, existence where you can just decide, I will still completely love and accept myself, even if I make a mistake, or even if this doesn't go well, or even if that person rejects me, I can still be okay. So that's the new messaging that your nervous system needs. But what stops this is if you let that rejection, that sort of pushback, that pumping of the brakes that your nervous system is going to do to anything new, any other goals, anything even that's really positive. This is why And I can, speak from experience here. This is why it's hard to leave a really toxic relationship, because it feels familiar to stay in the chaos of the cycles that come from that relationship. It feels really scary to feel ease or to feel things be more free or to actually breathe and express yourself and not have the fear of the cycle of dysfunction that happens in that toxic relationship. So it can be really challenging to not go with the status quo when your system feels like your life is on the line. So, what this shows up like in adulthood is, even in the smallest things, just overthinking every decision that you already kind of know the answer to. You don't really need to talk through 100,000 what ifs, because it's like, well, that's not really possible, or it's not really something that matters, or in the long run that's going to be okay. But you're overthinking, but what if, I have a client that I have worked with in the past where it's like, oh, well, what if my course doesn't sell on a certain day from the ads? Like, what if this, what if that? And so she was constantly using her energy to keep checking on the sales and keep checking on the ads. And we eventually helped her system to relax and feel comfortable with letting someone else on her team to take over that, and for her to just kind of get the big picture view like the CEO boss that she is. So it's really challenging though, because your system thinks there's benefit in scanning for threats all the time. So the other thing that can happen is that you might constantly be refining instead of executing and submitting whatever that project is, or whatever the, your Denise Duffield Thomas calls it procrastinating. If you're an entrepreneur and you're just like, oh, my logo is not ready yet, so I can't sell anything, or my website isn't totally good, so I'm not going to send people there. You really have to stop refining and refining to make it perfect in order to have growth. But that can feel really scary when you're an adult who's had this experience as a child. You might also notice that you're feeling emotionally flat about things that you should want, or things that you did want that you have now accomplished. And your body is just telling you, like, that's not really exciting because that doesn't hit the familiar spot. That's not something that we really want to be striving for. Like, that's what we should want, but that kind of freedom, or that kind of financial abundance, or that kind of visibility, that kind of opportunity. Maybe maybe you get a great opportunity at work, but you're just like, I don't really want to do it. I don't want to. It feels like a lot of work. That can be something that comes from this historic pattern of pumping the brakes when you're presenting a big goal in front of your system. So another thing that can happen is that you feel obligation dread even when it's something that you wanted. So let's say that you wanted to become more visible and you got an interview on a big podcast, and so your brand is now going to be featured, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I really don't want to do this. Like, this sounds horrible. I thought I wanted it, but I really don't. But that obligation dread, as soon as it becomes something that's on your list that you have to do, that's different than what you've ever done before, or that puts you into a new category of success, then you're bringing up things like the fear of success, the fear of failure, all the different stuff. And it's like, oh, your system just gets overloaded. Like, this is too much. Okay, so that's how you know if this cycle of wanting things but needing to stay in the familiar for the benefit of your nervous system, that's where it all kind of comes together. So what do we do with this? There are ways that your nervous system will be more friendly to any changes that you want to make, okay? So resistance is information. Don't treat it like it's something bad. I have so many clients that come to me, they're like, oh man, I just feel like such a failure, and I'm just so lazy. I haven't done this project and I know I need to, and I keep kind of getting myself in trouble at work because I'm not submitting things on time, yada, yada. And it's like, okay, instead of just trying to push through that resistance, let's peel layers back. What is that resistance coming from? What's underneath it? And if you can practice staying in the moment and not jumping ahead to your fears and your what ifs, that's another big, powerful tool here. You have to help your brain and your nervous system really reel it in, really come and stay in your current energy, like pull your energy back from the future and from leaning forward all the time, and just pull it in to sit with you where you are right here. And when you can do that, your nervous system is going to be much more likely to support you as you go into your new activities. Another thing to do is when you feel resistance, I want you to just ask yourself, what feels unsafe about taking action with this project or with this task? because your system will usually give you an answer. That inner child voice that's in there that's like scared or that's judgy or that is the inner critic. That inner critic can start talking, well, you're going to mess this up, or you're not, you don't know what you're doing, or it's too overwhelming, there's too much work, you're going to burn out, and da 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 da. Those obligation voices, the criticism, all of that can start getting really loud and stopping you if you're trying to resist it. But if you ask what feels unsafe and maybe even write it down, this can help overcome a multitude of resistance. So we just need that information. So if you are having resistance with any of your goals or dreams and you need help decoding it and you're a woman, you can book a free 15-minute chat with me, and that's exactly what we will do. In that 15 minutes, my favorite thing to do with people that I am just getting to know is to ask questions that are very specific that will help us identify exactly why you're resisting the next steps in that project. And it might even be something small. You might even be being hard on yourself about the project. Like, this is not a big deal. I can't even tell you how many times I hear this from clients, like, oh, it's just not a big deal. I don't know why I can't just force myself to do it. It's because your system has a set of messages that say it's not safe to move out of that familiarity. That's okay. We will decode that in a 15-minute focus call. If you're a woman and you would like to have the free guide that I created with 5 nervous system hacks that you can do at your desk and start creating the day-to-day safety foundation for your nervous system, you can go to elyssasmith.com/reset and grab that. And then if you want the 15-minute chat, you can go to elyssasmith.com/focus. Until next time, I hope you take such good care of yourself.